Good morning, everybody. Happy Thursday. We have an amazing show for everybody today. What do we have, Crystal?
Indeed, we do. We've got John Samuelson on. He's going to talk about the transit crisis that is already here and how bad it could get, what it's going to mean for cities, what it's going to mean for workers, and all of that. One of our favorites here on this show. We also have an economist on, John Leary. He's going to take us into the latest in terms of the unemployment numbers. We're expected to actually get new jobless claims this morning, so we'll have an update for you there. Got a great panel that's going to be here to talk about all sorts of interesting things, but we wanted to start with some really quite interesting developments in terms of the stimulus negotiations.
That's right. We could report to you guys yesterday that direct payments appear to be in the compromise solution. Now, there has not been a final deal that has reached here, but the sticking points that remain do not seem to be on these direct payments. Can also tell you now that the number looks like it's going to be 600 to 700. Again, that is not finalized, but it's not what I was floating yesterday around the couple thing. It will be per individual. They call it a marriage penalty. There's not going to be a marriage penalty within this one. So that's what we can have right now. Look, $600, it's not a lot. It's not going to cover anybody's rent, any of that, but might be able to boost some consumer spending on something. And I think that, something is better than nothing, and that's where we are right now.
Yeah.
However, there are opponents to even this on Capitol Hill. Some of them are Republicans. Some of them are Democrats. Senator Joe Manchin. Let's throw this up there on the screen. Bernie Sanders and Joe Manchin apparently got into a, quote, heated exchange on a private Democratic call yesterday. Sanders was insistent on more generous stimulus checks. Manchin saying firm in favor of robust unemployment insurance. Crystal, this is the perfect example of austerity mindset.
Yes.
You don't have to pick, especially in the middle of a global economic crisis. Any dollar that you spend right now is going to be made up 5 to 10 times in the future in terms of what you don't have to spend or the cost that you're going to suffer if you don't dole out more right now. And Joe Manchin, this is the other thing. Is there anybody in the state of West Virginia who's like, hey, Joe, you better not, tinker with that deficit whenever you're up? No, he lives from one of the poorest states in the country. I bet if he went and polled his own constituents, they would be like, give us as much goddamn checks as you can possibly get. And those unemployment just tells you everything you need to know about ideological capture, that this fight even had to happen between these two men.
And Democrats wonder why they do so poorly in rural America. It's because a bunch of corporatists like Joe Manchin are the people that end up representing those places. So Faz Shakir did clarify. He said, accurate version of this heated exchange is that Bernie and Manchin both agree on robust unemployment insurance. Manchin says you can't have robust unemployment insurance plus direct payments, that you have to choose one or the other. Bernie believes you can have both. Obviously, Bernie is 1,000,000% correct here. There was also reporting yesterday that some Republicans didn't want people who were on unemployment insurance to also get the direct payments. They were saying, this is double dipping, because God forbid someone who's struggling gets a little bit of extra cash. This mindset is insane. Meanwhile, as we covered here yesterday, when the defense industry CEOs are like, hey, we need a bailout, 3 days later, they get their full extension, their full money, no problem, take it to the bank. But when it's people, they try to fight and make sure that they're only going to get the bare minimum. Look, so much credit to Bernie and Josh Hawley for making any of this happen. And that is with the full realization that $600 is woefully inadequate. I saw someone commenting yesterday that if you think about how long it's been since the last check, $600 is $100 a month.
Yeah.
Right? That's how pathetically low this ultimately is. But it's better than what was on the table before, and it's better than nothing. And kudos to these two guys for actually fighting for something that is a little bit better and actually focusing on the right priority, which is direct stimulus in the hands of the American people. So now what happens? It's still not 100% clear that everyone is going to go along with this bill, but it does look like it's coming together. And we also got a really key piece of information about why, surprisingly, they added the direct stimulus and why, surprisingly, they're actually in a position to get the deal done. If we can throw this element up on the screen about Mitch McConnell speaking. So apparently he was very direct about linking the need for direct payments to the Senate primary in Georgia, saying Kelly and David are getting hammered. Also said that senators should be prepared to be in session through the weekend, which could be a scare tactic. God forbid they work on the weekend. Can't have that. But in any case, clearly he realizes, because this was the thing that we weren't expecting, this piece of the calculus that he understood so directly, that them not doing anything could be a real liability in Georgia. But he obviously sees that that is the case, and so that's why there was movement here. Not to mention, yesterday we talked about how, they all want to go home for Christmas, so that's part of the leverage point. But apparently the big reason for the movement here is because he feels like they might lose in Georgia if they don't do anything.
Well, there's two ways of reading this, Crystal. One is understanding that Mitch McConnell knows now that direct payments are linked to electoral prospects. Two is, where the hell were you before the presidential election? There's another way of reading this, which is that Mitch McConnell deliberately sabotaged Trump's election chances, which probably tells you everything you need to know about what McConnell actually cares about. And we've talked about this here. All he cares about the Senate majority. In many ways, Trump being gone is a great thing for him. Right now, he just gets to revert back to whatever he was doing, stand in front of Biden
people. Trump's a major pain in the ass for him.
Yeah, Trump is a huge pain in the ass because he's like, hey, I want you to actually do something every once in a while. Not even all the time, just every once in a while. That's too much for Mitch. And look, if he knows it now, it would have mattered in the presidential election, and he's not wrong that Ossoff and Perdue and Loeffler are getting hammered on the direct payments issue. Loeffler could not even answer in that debate what number of stimulus that she would support.
Wow.
Yeah, not one time. I think Warnock directly asked her. He was like, so what number do you even support? She couldn't even give a single one. And she couldn't even, And this is, a woman who's worth like $500 million, the richest member of the entire Senate. So you can see, it's obvious. Everybody knows this was an electoral liability. And Mitch McConnell apparently knows that. He's even in this case not willing to allow his ideology to get in the way of passing something which is going to help. And so that wasn't there when Trump was running for re-election. And whenever he was asking him to do something, Mitch was the one. He never said anything about that one time. We covered those in and out, those checks debates, whenever they were going for $1.8 trillion. Now apparently he's seen the light. It's just incredible to see my thesis proven out directly that he did not only not care about Trump's election chances, but that in a way he basically sabotaged him by not showing up.
Sure, but also, look, Trump is a big boy and could have gotten this done himself and had actually more power in the situation than Mitch McConnell did. But your points are well taken. I mean, it's really interesting because the minute that we started talking about these Georgia runoffs, we were saying, the only chance Democrats have is to make this a referendum on stimulus. So McConnell, wisely, is like, we're going to take that off the table. We're going to do something. Of course, he's going to make it, and the other bad actors like Joe Manchin and many of the Republican senators are going to make it as bare minimum as possible. But again, I am glad to see at least something's going to happen. And we went over the list yesterday of what's going to be in this bill. In addition to the $600 checks, you're going to 600, 700, somewhere in that range checks. You're going to have unemployment insurance plus up of $300, extension for, I believe it's 16 weeks. You're going to have an extension of that pandemic unemployment insurance program that's for gig workers. You're going to have an extended eviction moratorium, extended student loan debt payment forbearance. You have some actually rental assistance that the Democrats fought to get into this bill, some school funding, some funding for vaccine distribution, actually an increase in SNAP. So there are things here that for people who are really struggling, of course, PPP loans also included. For people who are really struggling, it's at least something.
Yes.
It's at least something. And again, $600 is pathetically small when you look at it in the context of how much pain has been suffered, when you look at it in the context of what every other developed nation in this world has done for their citizens. But kudos to Bernie and Hawley for at least getting that against what seemed like insurmountable odds. They were willing, and this is the lesson for any progressive or any economic populist or anyone who actually wants to do anything, they were willing to blow this thing up. They were willing to walk away. Their threat was credible. They're willing to make everybody stay for Christmas, and that is a big part of why you ultimately saw movement here.
It's all about leverage, and we shouldn't discount what this means for a lot of people. Let's throw this up there from the Wall Street Journal, which is that nearly 8 million Americans have now fallen into official poverty since the summer, directly because not just of the lockdowns and more, but because of the fact that federal assistance dried up and Congress did not show up in the months ahead in order to remake that plus up of unemployment, which is coming again now. And as has been said to me now by many people who I have met, who are on unemployment, which is that, look, man, even $100 extra per week would make all the difference in my grocery bills. That's what they say. They're like, just $400 more a month, and I can make this, and then I can be able to make the payment on my kid's college education, or I can make the payment on my house, or I can make the payment on my credit card, which is being racked up with bills. $300 more per week means, what is that? I mean, that's like $900 a month. Like, I'm not good at math. This is why, that's why I do this.
You already lost me.
Yeah, I'm lost. Sorry. Anyway, $300 extra per week for a lot of these people is a lot of money. It is incredibly more beneficial to them, to their livelihoods, to the things that they're going to be able to do. And we should not discount that and what it actually means for so many people. And that's the thing that I think we should hammer home, which is that not only did they get them the unemployment, they got them that extra stimulus check, no strings attached, it's going to come as a check, not taxable. That means everything for some of these people. That's a car payment. That is that is something, like maybe you needed something in order to pay down, or you couldn't fix something without this. That's what this actually means for many, and I think that it is a dramatic victory for actually showing what can be done when you have a little bit of leverage. Just 2 men were able to accomplish this.
1 in 5 Americans doesn't have enough to eat right now.
Yeah.
So, I mean, for some people, this is really literally like protein on the plate, or, a Christmas present under the tree for their kids.
That's right.
It really can mean a lot to folks. So, thank goodness, at least something is happening, woefully inadequate as it is. And I just have to say this one other thing, which may be a little bit petty, but whatever. We played for you here that Stephanie Rule clip where she was on MSNBC with Bernie, where she was like, don't you need a new tactic? You never get anything done.
Yes.
Interesting. Yeah. Interesting. All right, we're going to tell you what's on our radars. That's next.